Welcome back, folks. And we've got a new speed game for y'all, Celeste, between Msushi and Psyched SR. I am Electric, joined in the booth by Zojalix. How are you doing today before this fine race?
I'm doing pretty good, man. I'm really excited. Just ate a couple pieces of meatloaf, and so I'm ready to see some Celeste action tonight.
Oh yeah, it's you got to have your stomach full for a race like this because you're not going to want to leave the screen at all. Super fast
Definitely.
speed game. If you haven't seen a race of this before, it's just a treat to watch. These runners have to have some insane skill to pull off these times that they're going to pull off.
Yeah, definitely. So as we take a look at the standings here, we've got Msushi at third place right now after week one, coming off of a win against Programmatic. And then we also have Psyched, who came off of a loss against TGH. So definitely looking for him to be wanting to take up some points here right away. It looks like the match is getting started. We'll be seeing a sync right off the bat. But anyway, I'm really excited here. Both of these runners, even like Sushi coming off finish second place in season one. Psyched wasn't able to be a top four finisher, but he's still a very solid runner. Came in a really close race against TGH last week. So I'm really excited to see how this race pans out.
Oh, me too. And especially with Sushi being a new member of the 27 gang, I'm really interested to see exactly how he's going to be playing this time around.
Yeah, definitely. Another thing to highlight, last week, week one, first race of the league, and Marlon pulled out a 27. So I'm really excited to see how many 27s end up being showcased during this season. And I think it's going to be absolutely fantastic. We have 5 of our runners in the league all have put out a 27 on the leaderboards.
Yeah, it was so weird to see how long Tija's 27 was pretty much the only one, aside from Vlad's unfortunately unrecorded one. But then all of a sudden, it seems recently just an explosion of them coming out after Ultra Marlins.
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of that has to do, again, with the state. Oh, and Psyched missing a jump there. Not quite sure what happened, but he ended up having to retry. But anyway, when you look at the 27s, this game is so optimized, and that any sort of
yeah, Sushi just face planting into those spikes.
That's a feels bad, man. Man, I don't think I'm ever going to be able to talk about these 27s because things are just happening already right off the bat for this race, which I'm not going to complain about. But with the state of this optimization of the game, it got really tough for 27s to come out. But then once people started getting the hang of it, I feel like having this competition helps because you're a lot more focused on one more category. I'm not sure if you would agree on that or not.
Or I would definitely agree. Competitions like this really emphasize that consistency and optimization. And I think that given enough time, it was somewhat inevitable that people would get a lot more comfortable with the level of gameplay required for those great times.
Definitely. And we've definitely seen that gameplay come out already this season. So, like I said, every single runner that is here in the league are very, very good runners, and they've all put out great race times already. So I'm really excited to see it. I know I've mentioned on Twitter a couple of times that when it comes to each of these runners, there is no clear winner in this league. And I think that's one of my favorite parts about it, is because anybody could take it, and it just is amazing.
Oh, Psyched with the unfortunate early death right there. Just didn't get quite the right angle through the dream block.
Ooh.
Meanwhile, Msushi with a very nice start to his battle and chase.
Yeah, definitely. Kind of trips up on the corner right after you say that. Nice commentator curse there.
It happens everywhere. We are still searching for whoever accidentally caused or purposely caused that curse. Who knows?
Probably just started at something like at some Greek Olympic event, and now all of them are just cursed.
Yep. Now, Sushi is going to be making his way very soon to the awake section, which kind of shows off some of the optimization that people have done with this game. The awake section is just all about fast and building more speed if you can.
Yep. And, Psyched getting a little bit antsy on that cutscene skip and ends up having to retry, which will cost him a couple of seconds. But you know, you look at the awake section, you just kind of saw it there. Sushi gets tripped up a little bit, but you can build up so much speed and then lose it just by missing a corner boost, and that can cost you quite a bit of time as you have to go through and rebuild that speed again.
Yeah. It looked like Sight got through fairly nicely.
Yeah.
3:29 total time so far after Old Sight, but moving into the
Sushi-
Celestial Resort.
Sushi having about a 4-second lead over Psyched going into Resort. And, you know, Resort's one of those where that could very easily change. So it'll be interesting to see with his Dust Bunny cycles and Orshiro and all of just the complicated mechanics that go through in Resort as to how each of these runners play them out.
Yep. I've said it many times before. This run, like, you know, it's kind of a progressively heating up run, and Celestial Resort is really where you start heating up the pot. It's really where you turn the burner up and you put these runners to the test. Nice Dust Bunny cycle there from Sushi.
Not sure what Psyched had. I think he ended up hitting a Dust Bunny and had to take a death there. But no, definitely, you know, you think about heating up the pot, I almost think of a Celeste run as like heating up like a pot of boiling water. The moment you get to the summit is when that pot is just screaming.
Yep. So Sushi getting really close to that huge mess in our little laundry sub rooms.
Yeah.
His movement here is just so weird.
It is super weird. It's super tight, and like with a lot of the things with Celeste, you know, a lot of things you've got room to kind of jump around and kind of float in the air a little bit, but then you get to the huge mess and you're so constrained that just the option, there's so many different ways you can lose speed, and to be able to go through it fast is not a small feat at all. And so it's really cool to see just how all of the runners have been able to just play it and make it look so easy, because it is not.
Oh, yeah. So
now
nice movement so far.
Moving through books, we've got Psyched coming up right behind him, going to be entering books here. Sushi getting a little bit close to those Dust Bunnies.
Yeah. Gets the bubble break at about 5:37:38. And Psyched opting for a little bit safer of a strat there.
5:44 for the bubble break. We're looking at about a
7-8 second lead.
Yep.
Nothing
So again,
too huge, but of course we've got that pretty infamous trick coming up right after Sushi gets through the elevator shaft.
Yep. Demo dash being one that can very easily trip up runners, as it's actually, I think it is pixel perfect, and you have to be on a specific pixel in order to make it through the Dust Bunnies and not die, which is super tough. And I know that some runners have been opting to do a take a checkpoint, so you'll be seeing that come up here. So all this screen right here that you see Sushi on is all connected to the demo dash screen, and as you see Sushi drop down and take the checkpoint, that will actually, and first try for him, nice job.
Beautiful. Let's see the cycle here. Awesome stuff.
Nice, excellent movement from Sushi. So you got Psyched right behind. He's going for checkpoint list, and he's got it.
First try. Saves about 2 seconds. Beautiful.
So that's one of the things, you know, when you go down and take that other screen, you actually reset your spawn point. And so if you were to die to demo dash and you take the checkpoint, you would only go back to right next to the demo dash room, to the demo dash section. Whereas if you don't take the checkpoint, but then you end up dying still, you end up going all the way back to the room where the Dust Bunnies are moving up and down the wall, and that loses significantly more time.
Oh yeah. Really glad that Psyched was able to get that first try.
Yeah, that will definitely save him some time as we are looking at wrapping up Chapter 3 here. Sushi coming in at a 7:42. Maybe I'm wrong there. 7:43. Okay. So, oh no, Psyched face planting into the Dust Bunny. That's going to make him have to go on this with a death cycle, which can trip up some runners now. I know before it used to be kind of the standard for runners to take the death cycle, but now it's gotten so optimal that they don't even force a retry right off the bat.
Yeah, so and of course with the longer end rooms of the Oshiro chase, like you were saying earlier, like it's one continuous screen, so deaths at the end are extremely costly. And in case you haven't watched or run the game before, anytime you die, it actually lets the enemies in the next area move just a little bit before you can start moving again. So the cycle is ever so slightly offset of where it would be from the start. Sushi with the unfortunate death in the Archie room, double death.
He's not even going for Archie. He didn't even go for Archie. Wow, I'm really surprised. That being... Oh, and Psyched himself taking a death. But Sushi dying in the Archie room a couple of times. Not sure why he opted to not go for Archie, because it's a fairly easy strat from what I've seen.
And it seems very consistent for most runners. It's certainly not like the Depths corner boost or the Bound Into the Terrain or any of the other notoriously hard tricks. So
yeah, definitely. I know. I mean, I'm at a 56, I think, is my PB. So nothing at all to sneeze at. And Archie is pretty easy. So really shocked to not see Sushi going for that.
Well, as Chai Kitty is clarifying, it's actually harder to get Archie on the death cycle, but it didn't even look like he really went for it the first time either.
Oh yeah, I don't think he did. So I don't know. Who knows?
Ultimately, though, these guys are still pretty close together. Sushi,
Yes.
of course, having to wait for this platform. One of the
Going for the
very few
coinless.
auto-scrollers left in the game. Nice.
And he's got it. Nice. That strat only recently started coming out into RTA, or I guess human play, but I don't want to say RTA because it's they run by in-game time. So, but definitely, you know, that strat has seen a lot of attention this season, and I think that's really cool because it just shows, like, again, you've seen the development of the speedrun over time, and just seeing the way that everybody has utilized each of the strats.
And Psyched also getting that coinless strat. Beautiful gameplay from both sides still. Just a couple of little slip-ups here and there, but nothing ultra major. No true meltdowns just yet.
Yeah, definitely. And it'd be really... And so, even still... Oh, and Psyched taking a death there.
Yeah, a little bit early on his dash, it looked like.
Yeah, so a 10:29 Golden Ridge coming out for Sushi, with Psyched coming up right behind him as he is in his cliff face. Looking to be wrapping up here in just a little bit. Now, Sushi coming up onto Chapter 5, which, again, Chapter 5 is where I think a lot of the races really start to take off, because you utilize, for those of you guys who haven't seen a race or a run of this before, runners will, or even really seen this game, each chapter has two sides to it, you could say, an A side and a B side. And the B side you unlock by collecting a cassette tape on in the A side of the chapter. And when you collect that tape, you unlock B side, and it was actually found that 5B is actually faster. Sushi having a very clean Deb's corner boost there. We'll go ahead and give him props for that.
Yeah, the true yeet.
Yeah, definitely. And then so 5B is actually faster, but the B side levels are significantly harder in terms of platforming precision. And so to see that being pulled out has been really, really cool to see. It's become mainstream now for 5B, especially with the trick known as Bub's Drop, which Sushi will be coming up here in just a little bit on. But again, that's kind of one of the cool ways that the route has changed versus doing just 5A. Psyched now kind of tripping up on his yeet, kind of just gets more of a yee.
Yeah, the yeetant, as it
The
were.
yeetant.
Is Sushi gets into the Bubs drop room here. So this is about the closest thing to a glitch that you'll find in a Celeste speedrun, since technically Celeste runs are glitchless, as the developers have been, for at least a while, very good about patching the game, but Bubs drop has been left in. So what happened on Sushi's screen there was he went up and then did a very short wall bounce and dash down, which got him to fall under the one-way platform. So he was able to re-enter the previous screen through an entrance you're never supposed to be able to re-enter through. And so when you take a retry, the checkpointing system ends up putting you at the later entrance rather than the first entrance, because since you didn't come in from the first entrance, it thinks you must have come in through the second one, right? And so you thereby actually skip this very, very long section where you go to get a red orb, like from the other side of the B-side temple. So it saves a lot of time, and was really the big point to make 5B viable. Psyched unfortunately missing it. Oh boy.
And so that's the thing with Bubs drop, is because you enter in that other checkpoint and you can't go back down. And so in order to reset your position, you have to go back out to the menu screen and come back. And Psyched fails it again. That is at least, I
think like at least like 20 seconds of time loss or something. Like it's pretty significant.
Yeah, definitely. And he fails it again.
He was kind of debating there, I think, whether to go for it one more time or not. It's very, very precise. I believe it's a 2 or 3 frame window to actually get the wall bounce and
it
the
is so close. It's so tight, and messing it up, it just costs so much time. And I know we've seen so many runners just sometimes you got it, and sometimes you don't. Psyched is just unable to make it connect for him.
That is just rough right there.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, and then now just taking a death before he was even able to get to the Bubs drop segment. Kind of taking a moment to think it through now. Oh, man.
Oh, no. Meanwhile, Sushi playing through the mirror section of 5B very cleanly and is actually wrapping it up here at a 14-16.
Yeah,
oh, no, Psyched.
He just cannot seem to get past this for some reason.
It's just one of those days where Bubs drop just does not like you. And right there, he's got it. Nice job, Psyched. Way to stick with it and keep going and not give up. And there he goes, taking another death. Oh, man, that's so rough to see that many fails of Bubs drop. But good to see Psyched continuing to finish out the race, because right now, he's really hurting. And the ball, Psyched almost flinging himself back into the spikes, but he manages to save him. But now the ball is in Msushi's court. This is his race to lose.
Yup. He's got a very, very significant lead to those fails, and it's unfortunate that such a major trick is also so difficult, as we just saw from Psyched's example, but at least he was finally able to go ahead and continue on.
Yeah, definitely. So now we've got Sushi, kind of tripping up a little bit there on the wall, but he's able to make it work as he's flinging himself across Reflection now. Only got 2 more chapters left in the run. Sushi, again, definitely being one of the younger runners, but still coming out a 2nd place finish in Season 1. Ooh, and Sushi hitting the spikes there, having to take a death. But, you know, like, for Sushi, his ability is, I'm so impressed with him because he's been noted for learning games really fast and just being a quick learner when it comes to speedrunning, which can come in really handy, especially when you get into these competition type settings. And, you know, Sushi, obviously he's shown through Season 1 coming in 2nd that he definitely is a top runner and deserves his spot. So it'll be interesting to see if Sushi will be really trying to push to try and pull out a championship. I know it's gonna be, I feel like it's gonna be a lot harder this season to win than last season, being that all of the runners are just so close in time, and they're all very much now, a lot of them are used to the competition and are just ready to just play their minds out and keep going.
And it'll especially be interesting once we do finally get to the end of the season since the finals will be online this time around rather than live to see exactly how people handle all of that. Now Psyched showing off the bruh on screen.
Bruh. Didn't you do that last season too?
I know I've seen the bruh on screen a couple of times, but
yeah,
I forget exactly who.
So now we've got Msushi coming up on the Battle and Boost. This trick has become kind of arbitrary for the rest of the runners because it's just simply a hyper dash into a bunny hop in which you fling yourself through the next screen to start the oh so famous Battle and Fight, which is arguably the most iconic section of the entire game, where you decide to look Battle in the face and be like, you know what? You're gonna be a jerk to me? Come at me, bro. And the showdown happens. So now we've got Psyched continuing to move through Reflection himself. Overall, his Reflection's been really clean, but he's still at a significant deficit, unfortunately, just because of Bub's drop. And, you know, one thing that's been stated a lot of times throughout the leagues is Bub's drop can just be a very difficult trick. And, oh, Psyched is opting for 6B.
Yeah, it looks like he's going for that little tiny bit of time saver. Just kind of wants to have fun with the rest of this run, knowing how far behind he is. Probably
Definitely.
over a minute or so, which in a game like this short and at this high of a level is very, very hard to overcome.
Yes, definitely. Oh, and he takes a death right there. So one thing to note, Psyched actually, I think in his match last week against TGH, also pulled out B and really well. I think he only had like 1 or 2 deaths, and they weren't until the like at least like the final 3 screens. So far, we've only seen 2 runners that have pulled out playing 6B versus 6A. As you can see, Sushi still opting for 6A, but I think the 2 runners that played 6B were Psyched and Aurora Dash. He pulled out 6B in his match against Flare Bear.
Yeah,
So
Aurora is known for constantly going for 6B since he comes from that IL world where it's in his blood. He's practiced it so much, but I do kind of wonder if we'll start seeing that trend dissipate a little bit from people wanting that consistency of 6A.
Yeah, I don't know, because I know recently too it was found that 6B was faster, and they've been continually, at least the task crew from what I've seen, have been continuously working on trying to develop the 6B strats and trying to make it a lot more consistent, because a lot of the strats that you see in 6B are really stinking hard. And so it'll be interesting to see if runners will revert back to 6A, or if we'll see more people pulling out 6B.
Yeah, I feel like it could probably go either way. Well, it'll really just be down to time.
Definitely. Yeah. So now Sushi wrapping up his Reflection, gonna be coming in at about a 20:02, 20:03. So a very solid Reflection time for him now, as he moves into the final sprint of the race, the summit. Again, like we said it early on in the run, you know, summit is when your tea kettle is boiling and it just is screaming because the music is intense and you just want to go.
Yeah, and all of the level revisits are very, very difficult. There's no like soft spot or relaxation spot or there's no calm at all in this storm. It's all storm. You know, there's really no part of Summit that's easy at all.
No, it is really, it's really hard, and it's a really long chapter too. All of the other chapters coming in at about a 5-minute-ish. Well, some chapters, you know, being less than a minute for City, about a minute and a half for Old Site, and so just actually, I might be wrong about Old Site, but still, again, you know, some are really chapters are really short, and then you get Summit that's clocked in at just barely being sub 8 minutes, only recently happening for its IL world record. And so the level itself it feels like a sprint with the music, but it's also somewhat of a marathon.
Yeah, a marathon of sprints, if you will.
Yeah.
It's just non-stop.
Yeah,
strats
it is.
in action.
And oh, Psyched dying there on the spikes. Unfortunate. With the amount of deaths that he's had, I don't think he's saving time on a 6B, but still, always really cool to see that getting pulled out. Oh, I thought he was going to dash right into the spikes there, but he is able to avoid them. That was really cool to see.
Yeah, I'm honestly surprised he was able to make that.
Okay, nice skip there from Psyched. Very impressive there. Whoa, that actually, I don't remember seeing that wave dash there off that block. That was really cool. Is you use the momentum from the moving block into a wave dash, which builds more momentum as you keep going, which just makes you fly so far. It's the same kind of concept as to what makes Battling Boost the way that it is. So again, you know, you build your momentum from the you use the momentum from the platform that you're on, and then using your dash mechanics, you're able to push that momentum even more. And it is so cool to see the way runners utilize that.
Yep. Meanwhile, we've got Msushi at about 1,500 meters, blazing through this summit.
That room, Msushi made that look so easy, but it is so hard. The way that you just have to fling yourself all the way across, using all those ultras and all just from the initial momentum build up from the beginning. And so that is super impressive. And now we've got Psyched joining him in the summit. We're in the last couple of minutes of, well, in the last about 10 minutes of this, I should say 8 minutes of the race. So again, you know, Msushi with a very commanding lead. Just Bubs drop, proving to be the fatal point for Psyched. So now coming up, we have, after this race, we've got TGH versus Marlin. This is going to be, actually Msushi pulling out a very good auto solo skip. Quick highlighting that. So,
oh, and then having to take a death in the next room.
Ooh.
Wow.
That's rough. So yeah, coming up we got TGH versus Marlin. Marlin coming through, absolutely dominating in the qualifiers, and then taking world record from TGH. And then Marlin bringing out a very solid win, pulling out a 27 in week 1, as well as a win over Chai Kitty. So another, you know, Chai Kitty 4th place runner at pace. So Chai Kitty known for being a top runner, and Marlin was able to beat him. So this will be a I think this is going to be a really close race between both Tej and Marlin. So you guys definitely are going to want to stick around for that.
Yeah, I'm super excited for that race. It's two absolute titans in this game duking it out. Yeah,
definitely.
It should be close.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a very close race. And I always like to highlight Marlin as being like the one that you kind of have to look out for this season, because up until the qualifiers, just kind of was under the radar, doing his little IL thing, dominating ILs, and then qualifiers happened and he played just absolutely insane in the qualifiers. And then after qualifiers, takes world record. Not only does he bring it to a sub 27:50, but within another week he brings the time down to a 27:34, an absolutely crazy time that I would not have thought like gonna be happening anytime soon.
Oh yeah, like it's insane how much the game has progressed, and even just like the past month or so, like it's
definitely
it's wild seeing this progression.
And I think, you know, for me, that's one of my favorite things about speedrunning, is just the way you can see a game develop over time and just see just the heart and soul that people put into their games and just making it going as fast as possible.
Yep. Oh, Psych just dashing right into that bunny. Not quite getting on the right cycle. Gonna have to wait a little bit here. As meanwhile, Sushi is making his way up through the flags.
Going through downdraft right now. Sushi, you know, again highlighting Sushi is playing really well. Even Psych too. Other than Bub's drop, there really hasn't been anything major for Psyched in this race. So even though this does look like a really devastating loss for him, I definitely would not count him out for the rest of the season. You know, last week he came out in a match against TGH where he lost 8 points to TGH, so he only lost by a little bit over a minute, which in a game like Celeste is not that much time. And so it's just super impressive to see Psyched coming through and, you know, putting up that close of a time. And again, despite Bub's drop, he's been playing really well. So it'll be interesting to see as he looks to try and clean it up going into next week, which I don't know who he races off the top of my head. I'd have to pull up the schedule. But, you know, just again, going to be really interesting to see where both of these runners continue throughout this season.
Oh yeah, like, and especially if you want anything to make you excited about season progress, like look at Psyched's progress last season, going from being a really good top level runner to just like getting into the top 4, which if you would have looked at the PBs at the very start of the season, you wouldn't have expected that. So I'm really curious to see how exactly the progression is going to work out this time around, because we've got a lot of runners with that huge potential for improvement.
Yeah, definitely. And we know that, like, I love highlighting the way that Chai Kitty just absolutely amazed everybody. Came through, I think he was expected to be low end of the pack when it came to the standings, and then he just came through and finished in 4th. Absolutely blew everybody's mind, and then he ended up being the second person to get a recorded 27. And so, like, Chai just totally went through and shattered expectations, and I definitely would love to see another runner go ahead and do that too.
But for now, we've got Sushi with a 28-25 to finish off this race. Very great stuff. Psyched, unfortunately.
Race time.
Oh yeah. Especially like he had like a bit of a messy first couple of chapters, so I think like this is really just an awesome time for what the run was, especially kind of showing off how great the late game was overall.
Definitely. And, you know, 9 deaths, a little bit rough. Not necessarily anything you want to see, but you know what? Still really solid. And, Psyched kind of tripping up a little bit there, but he's able to back it up really well. Nice job from him. So now Psyched looking to try and wrap up his race as fast as he can, because he's still got points left to nab for himself. And so, if you, for those of you guys who don't know how the league works, each match is played in a best of 1. The winner of every single match gets 60 points, and then after that, there are 30 points that get divided between the other runners. And each point, like, the loser forfeits a point every 10 seconds that they fall behind. And so, if you, so you have about a 5-minute gap at the end of, it's exactly a 5-minute gap at the end of every race to still be able to nab some points. And so it's, even though you might lose the race, you still just don't want to go through and just slowly meander your way to the end, because you still have points to nab. And especially this early in the season, you want to, throughout the entire season, there are 90 points that get divvied up every single race. And so it's always important to try and get as many of those points as you possibly can.
Oh yeah, it's super important, and I really love the point system, because it puts a lot of emphasis on like how exactly the runners compared, rather than just like who had a good day, who had a bad day.
Yeah, definitely. And you can see, a lot more consistency that will come through, because runners who, well, even if you do have a bad day, but you can still put up a solid time and still come in close, then, you're still able to nab points. So I think we're going to be seeing, in some ways, a little bit closer standings, because you're not going to be having, it's not going to be as exhausting playing 3 straight matches. But I think it definitely will prove to be, like, the point system will help to, keep runners energized. Oh, Psyched kind of tripping up there, but missing the wall bounce again, having to go back for the crystal. Able to keep going without a death. Very, very impressive.
Oh yeah, that was a really nice save.
Oh, kind of tripping up there again. A little bit sloppy on these last 2 flags. Oh, and he takes a death on flag 1. You do not like to see that. Oh, and he ties again.
Oh man, he just wants to reach that big old crimson burgundy flag at the top, but
oh, it's definitely one of those things that it's just, you hit that flag and you're just like, oh, yes. So a 31:04 coming through for Psyched. Definitely a really, still even then, a really good race time, despite not taking the win over Msushi. He's able to nab himself some points, keeping himself still climbing, and hopefully we'll be seeing a lot. Hopefully seeing him cleaning up that Bubs drop, because again, that sort of being the only real choke point throughout the run. And
yeah, I mean this
so,
easily would have been a sub 30 without those Bubs drop fails, unfortunately.
yeah, definitely. So hopefully seeing him clean that up as we go into next week. But that will conclude it for this race. Electric, do you have anything else to say?
Not really, other than stick around, everyone, because we've got, like I said, that awesome race coming up between Tej and Ultra Marlin. That's just going to be a ridiculous race, and if you have any interest in Celeste races, I definitely think that that's one you're going to want to see, and I'm so stoked that I get to calm that.
Oh, it's going to be so much fun. So yeah, with that, we're going to turn it over to intermission, and we will be right back with that race. So you guys are going to want to stick around. It's going to be a good one.
Yeah, peace out, guys. See you in a bit.